Hello, welcome to Infinity Realms, a homebrew Dungeons & Dragons group based at Vancouver Film School. Today, we'll be interviewing one of our players, Shicara Weibel.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
I am as well. I have 15 questions for you today.
Yes.
So, for the first one, how much experience do you have in tabletop RPG? And what have you played before?
Ooh. So I started playing tabletop RPGs in my early 20s, I believe. I was working at Sephora at the time, and I had a coworker, and he had actually created his own tabletop role-playing game, and it was a zombie like survival-based game, and it was really intense and like gory, and I died so much. So that was my very first tabletop. So I was probably like around 22. And that was really fun. And then he also introduced me to Vampires the Masquerade, where I loved that. I'm actually wanting to become a DM of some Vampire the Masquerade stuff. And again, that was around 22. And then I kind of took a hiatus because I was working on different things, and then I found voiceover, and I was like, oh. And then I found different shows and different content, and it just really sucked me in. And so when I turned around 26-ish, so that was about, how old am I, 29? So that, what, 3 years ago? That's when I really went full blown. I wanted to do everything to do with tabletop games. I wanted to explore more, and yeah. So I guess it's been a journey of a while. Of a little while, but like not a super long time. Yeah, but a couple, like what, 6 years?
I'd say a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've always kind of delved in it, but I had friends who would like tell me about their adventures, and that was really cool. I loved hearing my friends' stories. So
Cool.
I just wanted to be a part of them.
Sweet. Question number 2. How did you approach creating the concept of your character without too much spoilers?
Oh boy. Okay. Generally, whenever I play games, like any D&D campaigns that I've had before, I always chose like really, really hyper girly, like super adorable characters. And this time I was like, well, what kind of character haven't I played? What character haven't I explored yet? And I was like, well, I haven't really explored any teenager, pyromaniac, but incredibly naive characters yet. And I think that would be really, really fun and challenging to play in its own way. So going into Kid, I wanted to make sure that she was someone that you could relate to, that she was someone that was really fun, spunky, sassy. That comes very easy for me. And yeah, just someone who could have a lot of fun, cause some mayhem, and not feel bad about it after. Maybe a little bad, depending.
Bit of an exploration of new characters. I love it.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Number 3. What excites you the most about this campaign?
That it's so different. I had been familiar with the 100 before, but I hadn't really dived into like the series before, and so now that when I got introduced to this concept, I have been watching, and it is a very fun and interesting world, and I can't wait to like delve into it. All of the hazards and the awful things that could happen to us, I'm just like, ooh, how am I gonna die? I think is really, really fun. I think it'll also be a very different experience than D&D as I know it, where it's been just a traditional, like elves, orcs, all the wonderful, wonderful things of that. Yeah, it's very different. It's very different, and I think my heart broke a little when I had to choose a human, but it's okay because she's kind of weird. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. 100 mythos, very expansive, and sci-fi is very different.
Yes, and I love like sci-fi. I love like Fallout is a big love of my life. So getting to explore a world where radiation is like a true danger, and how you're mostly fighting against the environment.
Yes.
And I think that's really fun. Like dragons are great,
Yeah.
but a radiation storm coming and ripping your whole party to shreds, it sounds so exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a different way of seeing what could otherwise be magic in a game.
Exactly.
Kind of
Yeah.
format like this.
Yeah, and I would love to see if like maybe like some concepts of death claws, but like the 100 version of like that. Yeah, I just think there's like the limits are endless, and it's just gonna be so exciting.
Number 5, how do you feel about role-playing romantic relations within the party?
I think it's kind of fun. I'm really nervous for it if it happens. I've never done it, you know. So I'd be really awkward. I'd be like, oh, you wanna? That's weird. Okay. But if it was an overtime thing and it felt like my character would do that, then absolutely, I would be all for it, as long as it was respectful.
Of course. Just skip the question here. Number 4, what do you think is your strong suit when it comes to tabletop RPGs? And what can your playmates expect from you at the table?
My strong suit. I think my strong suit is I just really like to have fun. I love the weird, quirky things. I love, for some reason, I love the diplomatic solutions to things, although I'm really terrible at them. So I guess I'm the one who usually tries to not create bloodshed, but then it happens and I'm like, oops. Yeah, I think my strong suit is going to be adding humor, quirkiness, awkwardness, and just reckless abandon. What was the other question?
What can your playmates expect from you at the table?
Oh, all of the above. Reckless abandon, for sure. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Going now to question number 6. What sort of person is going to love your character?
People who really love characters that have a long way to go. They have a long way to grow. They have a journey ahead of them. You know, people who they don't really know who they are quite yet, and they're young and they're naive and they're hanging out by the seam of their pants. They're like hoping for the best, and characters that you kind of root for. Yeah, I think those kind of people like that character. What will like kid?
Number 7. How is your character like you?
I got a long way to grow. Yeah, like my whole last like decade has been focused on growing and finding who I am and finding what I like and finding what makes me happy and what makes me passionate, and really finding the muse within me and letting that muse speak through me and not judging myself. So I think Kid is trying to find something very similar.
Number 8. How is your campaign bringing something new to the genre?
All of it. I think like so much. It's a whole different world. I don't think I've ever seen a D&D group where they explore at the 100. I haven't seen a lot within D&D in that realm of like traditional D&D where it's like post-apocalyptic and fighting for survival and fighting against mutation and fighting against like the elements that arise and fighting desperation and horrors and all of these things. So like, don't realize there's horrors in D&D, but it's different when it's like hyper realistic, and it's close to humanity. It's close to what we could experience now in our world. So I think that'll be really interesting.
Okay, number 9. When on break, how will you be spending your time?
Snacks. Snacks.
Wow.
Absolutely. Snacks. Food, drink. Yeah. I'm not much of a planner, so I'm so glad that I've heard some of my colleagues, table mates, playmates, I don't know, that they're like, yes, I will be planning. We are going to be strategizing. And I'm like, great. I'm here for it. Because I'm not. We'll see.
Number 10, how have you grown as an actor since the beginning of your acting journey, and how long have you been acting for?
Well, so in the sense of like how much I've grown, a lot, and yet not enough. I feel that when I first started, it was a very me. I loved the intention. I loved being on camera. I wanted to be seen and I wanted to be heard, because that wasn't something that I grew up really feeling, as many people have. And yeah, when I first kind of started acting, I really was hyper focused on how the scene affected me. And don't get me wrong, even now, I still get affected by that some days. Some days it's still like, you know, that little monster looms overhead. You just gotta smack it down and you're like, no, I'm here for the art and I'm here for the story. So I guess that's like a big way that I've grown, is I've learned that acting is not about you at all. It's all about who you're partnering with. It's about the story. It's about the emotional impact that you're going to have on other people. That's what's important. I've been acting, so I got into voiceover. I went through a quarter-life crisis. I was a makeup artist before this, and I was just not vibing with it anymore, and I needed a drastic change. And so that's when I first started getting into acting. I came from Edmonton, Alberta, and so I started getting acting classes at the Citadel Theatre. I actually specifically remember my 24th birthday and having like a crisis over where my life was going. I was like, I'm so old, what's happening? Yeah. So around 24 is when I started taking acting more seriously, and I really wanted to expand my range and get into that. But I've been a streamer for like 7 years, so that's kind of acting. It's being on camera for long periods of time. And then in school, I did acting all throughout. And then in high school, I was in musical theater. So acting's always been there.
Right.
It's just my sights, I'm kind of squirrely, so my sights kind of go a little everywhere. Yeah.
Different forms of acting.
Yes, literally. And you don't even realize it until you sit back and you look and you're like, oh, it's really been there the whole time. Yeah.
Totally get that. Right, so question number 11. How do you know you have done a good job at role-playing or acting?
It's hard. I think the biggest thing is if you know you're doing a good job, there's like you feel a little spark in you. There's something. And if you're not an actor, it's hard to describe it, but it's you know. Like you know when you know. And it's like it fully embodies you and you just go along for the ride. You're not in control. Kind of like what I mentioned earlier, where you let the muse speak through you. You just let her take the handles and she fucking goes. And I think that's when you know.
That's cool.
I know that's so like spiritual, but that's how you know.
That makes sense. It's a feeling thing, right?
Yeah.
Kind of at a situation it feels right. Yep, that was a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%.
exactly.
Okay, so if you were not an actor, what other profession would you have chosen?
Oh boy. So I went through so many different ideas growing up. It was, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a vet tech. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a tattoo artist. I wanted to be so many different things. And then out of high school, I settled on makeup artist. And growing up, where you pinballing what you wanted to do with your life. So that's such a weird question to think of now, because it's like, I found home. This is home. This is where I want to be. This is it. But let's say it was taken from me for some reason. I would still probably be in the acting world, to be totally. I want to get into directing. I love the idea of directing a project. I want to get into casting, specifically voiceover casting. I think that's so cool. And yeah, I think I would be on, like, if it wasn't acting, I would be with the actors regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
Stay with the world.
Yeah, stay with them. You're never leaving. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us something totally uninteresting about yourself.
Uninteresting. I really like bats. I really like bats. They're my favorite animal. specifically like the Australian flying, like fruit bat. They're adorable.
Specific.
They're so cute. They cuddle blankets. They have soothers. They die if they don't have family or something to snuggle with. They're just absolutely adorable. And yeah, I love bats. Bats.
Are you typecast as a certain type of character?
Absolutely. It's been it's really been in my face lately, let me tell you. So I'm typecasted as a villain. Just even like my physical look, people are like, yes, you will do bad things, I'm sure. It's definitely not the hair. I definitely don't think the hair has anything to do with it. Definitely typecast as a villain, and the sassy best friend. Those are like my two that I know that I can play very easily. Yeah.
Very cool. Any advice you would give to new and aspiring role players?
Just have fun. And I know that's so cringy and plain, but it's really just have fun. And don't try not to be so controlling. It's so easy to plan ahead and try to plan out your moves and be like, oh, at this time I'm going to talk to them to do this, or if I roll a perfect D20, then it's random, and just enjoy that it's random and that you have no control, and just go with it. Just have fun.
That's improv for you.
That's improv.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, those are all the questions I have. This
Okay.
was fun.
Yeah. Thank you. You're gonna get that a lot. Just
Okay, clap.
I don't even remember. Hello? Hi. Oh,
Okay.
thanks. Great. Great. Good.